Good morning, friends, and all of you catching us live on this channel today. And I want to thank you. And I want to actually start with thanking each one of you for taking your time and tuning in for the Facebook live session with Dr. Smita Dipankar Chowdhury. And before we get even started, I want to wish you all, on behalf of JGI schools and also my personal behalf, that you have been doing good so far, staying safe and taking all the precautions. So continue to do this, because at the end of the day, the safe country begins with safe family, and safe family begins with safe individuals. So we all have to be safe so that we can keep our family, society, and the country safe. Now, with this, today I have an interesting conversation for the next 1 hour. And joining me for this conversation on a very, very important and a pressing topic of today is successful teens. And how do we handle them in a successful way can be one way of interpreting the topic. But how do teens, that is our children, get success with their lives in 2020 and beyond 2020? Now, that's the whole conversation. And no better person than Mumbai's first teen wisdom certified teen coach or life coach for teens, Dr. Smita Dipankar Chowdhury, is joining us. Good morning to you, Dr. Smita.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Chandra, and good morning to everyone who's listening to here. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. And as Dr. Chandra mentioned, I'm really happy that you're all safe and healthy, and I bless you all. And I'm really grateful that we are all talking right now.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of Jain Group of Institution Schools, we want to thank you for taking the time to actually come and talk to our parents. And we are a family of more than 5,000 students in this segment of Nagpur, Aurangabad, Hyderabad cluster. But as JGI, we are in the education industry or sector since 1990, and we have got more than 87 institutions across from cradle, that is kindergarten, to university levels. So that's our spread, and we operate around 7 states as of now, and a student strength of 60,000 students on an academic year basis. So that's a little bit about JGI for you. And today you will be joined by a lot of parents who are catching us live on Facebook, and they will have their questions, but not before you share your thoughts and your experiences with all of us. So I really want to waste no time, but ask directly the question which has been on my mind ever since we shared this particular poster on our Facebook. I have heard of career coaching. I've heard of life success mantras for children, inspiration, motivation, and all that. But I have never heard of teen life coaching, right? Is there something like this? And one, what made you to get into or venture into this niche space? How did you actually hit upon this idea, and what made you to involve and indulge yourself in this space? Can you please tell us a little bit about it?
Oh yeah, okay. I'll start with why me and why how did I get into it. Basically, just about a little bit of my background. I am a Malayali married to a Maharashtrian. My only aim in life, right from my seventh grade, that means as a teenager, since being a high achiever, I wanted to be a doctor, and my parents supported it. But what happened was, being an academic personality in those years, I mean, I was totally focused only on studies and not in any other extracurricular activities. And now looking back, I feel if I could have had the blend of doing all, then maybe things would have been different. But I'm really happy where I am. I've been practicing as an anesthesiologist for almost 18 plus years in Mumbai and Navi Mumbai. And things were fine. Very happily married, very busy with my career. My husband is also a radiologist, so very busy. We have a daughter, and things were fine till she entered teenage. So our bubbly, chirping, happy, high achiever daughter suddenly changed. She didn't change, basically. I felt she changed. So it was like, what happened? She became quiet, very reserved. couldn't focus on studies, a person who used to never cry, had tears in her eyes whenever you spoke to. So I didn't know. I felt maybe I was doing something wrong, but I had always had this thing that family comes first. So I had made it a point that after 2:30 I am back with her in school, back with her at home, being with her always. But still I felt I did something wrong. So I used to go back, read a lot of teenage books, attend sessions. I mean, those days it was very difficult to attend sessions, but I went on, and then I realized it's a common point with every teenager around. So somehow I went and became a go-to mom to many of her friends. I asked, maybe I just understood their nerves or their feelings, because I felt it like because seeing my child going through it. And that's how we started a teen club, where we had a lot of children, few of them coming. We used to meet once a month. They used to just share things, and everything stays in the group. So it was like crying, hugging, everything. We were there for each other. And somehow just it went on. And after a few years, when my daughter was in maybe 10th grade or so, I was looking for a life coach for my daughter specifically. So when I researched, I couldn't find anyone who was specifically teen focused. There were life coaches all around. I have life coaches. I have a lot of mentors whom I learn from, but a life coach specific for teenagers I couldn't. And then I logged into this website of Teen Wisdom, where I found my mentor, who's actually been a life coach for 20 years. She is a teen life coach for girls for 20 years. And she's shared with me that even I could get certified. And I said, okay, why not? And that's how I started. And when I finished my certification, I realized I was the first in Mumbai to be certified from Teen Wisdom. And it was a big privilege and a big responsibility on my side. And that's how I became a life coach for teenagers. And now to your question of, is there something called as life coaching? That was a question I was asking myself for last maybe a year or two back, before I got my certification. Basically, just if you could just think, if your child has any conflict or any issues in studies, where do you go? Obviously you take tuitions, extra classes, and all those things. But what happens during teenage is that lack of self-esteem, relationship issues. They are going through a lot of hormonal issues, a lot of stress levels. And if you remember, I mean, as teens, if as parents, if we look into it, as teens we didn't have such a complicated life. We had things to do, but the technology and exposure was not there. So there were all mixed messages coming into the teenagers. So they need a direction. So where do you go for someone who has low self-esteem, a teenager who looks very happy from the outside but has a low self-esteem inside? There is a relationship which is very rosy with their parents outside, but in the house there are constant conflicts. Or maybe there is just, parents are not allowed to enter their rooms. Teenagers don't like it. I have teenagers who ask their parents to knock in their before entering their rooms. So if that is a relationship that's happening, so there is somewhere where you need a life coach who works on these issues, creates a bridge between the parent and the teen so that they understand each other. And that's what a life coach does. So you didn't have someone, but now you have me. Uh, but there are many people and life coaches who actually work with teenagers, but it's not specific. I work specifically only and only with teens.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you see the Mumbai's first certified teen life coach, Dr. Smita, and not just a teen coach, but she's also an anesthesiologist and also a wellness consultant. Now, Dr. Smita, what I've understood, what I've heard you so far, if I've understood it right, is you are talking about teen life coaching is focusing primarily on three pillars. Pillar number one being self-esteem in children, in that very delicate teenage of the child. Second is relationship issues with either friends or even family members. That's another thing. And third is how all these emotional and socio psychological issues affect the academic performance of the child, right? And academic performance per se, not necessarily the subject marks, but the overall approach to studies and the academic life of the child. So that's what I understood so far. But I think for the benefit of all of us and also parents who are watching you today, I want you to spend some time on elaborate on these three things in a greater detail.
Okay, so basically, if I have to talk, when you're talking about life, self-esteem, your relationships, and academic interest, as parents, I would like you all to understand this. The first thing that you see in a teenager is not lack of self-esteem or a lack of relationship issues. The first thing that is a warning sign that you see is a drop in academic interest. That's what I've seen in most of the teenagers. So that comes as the outer core, outer shell of the personality. Then comes issues with relationships, and when you go deep inside into the core, you actually realize it's the self-esteem that's bothering the child. So if I have to talk about only academic interest, but if I am maybe, will it be okay if I share some case studies of people without, I will, obviously I am in confidentiality, I will not share the names, but that will be easier for you to understand. So it will be an example, maybe it's, there's this boy who had anger issues, a lot of anger issues, was in the 10th grade and didn't realize, didn't know what's happening. Constant fights with parents, the grades were going down drastically, a very good child, and was being bullied, and all the issues were happening. We didn't realize what was happening with the child. A very bubbly, if you look at him out from outside, he's very calm, composed, very playful, but on the inside it was different. And we just, when I just spoke to him, the first thing that I normally do is something called as a brain dump exercise with a child, where they actually share everything that comes. So in life coaching per se, I don't teach. It's 90% of them talking. I just listen, 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 and listen. So just doing that, it was, yeah.
I want to interrupt you there. You told two interesting words, one being brain dump, and two, you don't talk, but you let them talk. But my question out of curiosity, the normal complaint which I keep hearing, or not a complaint, but per se kind of feedback which I keep hearing from parents, is the teenager, my child, my daughter, my son, do not even talk to me. So you say, I don't talk, but I tell them to talk. How does this work? So talk to us about brain dump, and how do you get them to open up, because I'm sure parents who are watching are interested to learn those techniques. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's just brain dump is a technique which I've been using since a very long period of time. Where whenever I feel sad or upset, or even I have to think, I just write. I just write, 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 write till I'm empty here inside my heart, and my brain is empty. That's the way it is. So children don't like to write. So many of them just talk. I just said, the only sentence I say, I want to know everything about you, right from the time you were born. And they just say, I just say, huh, okay, okay, okay. So you just have to say, oh, okay, oh, that's, I mean, these small syllables, just single words, they actually instigate them to just talk, 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 because they are uninterrupted. The problem with we parents have normally, even I am a culprit, I still do it many a times with my teenager. But it's like when they start talking, we just start giving advice. Oh no, you should have done this, or we just keep interrupting them, and they don't like to be interrupted. Once they interrupt, the flow of thoughts is gone and they don't speak. So you can just, when you want the teenagers to talk to you, it's a common thing, they should feel that they are heard. So that's what it is. And brain dump really works like that. So I have a lot of teens who actually do those things, and they're empty on the first go. Okay. So that's what happened with that boy. I didn't expect him to open up on the first coaching session itself, but he just opened up, and you won't believe, I had my session is for 1 hour, but we ended up talking for 2.5 hours. So I just waited, and you can never see, it was like tears coming out of the boy, and didn't know what's happening. But it was just felt empty. And in the second session onwards, we worked on few sheets with the issues that he was having with parents, and then we came to know that he was being bullied in class. His friends, best friends, he couldn't trust them, whether they were talking behind his back, did not know. And that is the reason why all the academics were coming down. So those things worked out, and things changed, and within in 5 weeks we could see drastic change. He's done his 10th grade exams long back. Results are out, and really scored really well. He gave his exams, by the way. He was among those people who had to give the exams. So that's how it is. But that's where you work on a mixture of everything. The self-esteem got cleared, and automatically relationships improved, and then it affected the academic grades. But what we do normally is, when there is a problem in the academic grades, you end up taking a tuition, and the tuition teacher bombards again, study, 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 where the child has other issues. So maybe you could take out patient time and sit with the child, and ask what happened. So this is one case study. There's another one which recently happened to me. A child who actually when attended few of my webinars and just said that I hit with that line when you said that I feel lonely, no one cares for me, and nobody feels that I ever exist. I mean, even if I'm there around, and this coming out of a child who has a very happy, caring family, but I didn't expect that to be said by that child. And after 5 weeks of sessions with her, she actually told me, I'm telling you this, I wouldn't have said it ever. I thought starting with you, I would have never opened up because I've gone to a lot of school counselors and I have always felt they never get me. They never understand. And I did not do anything. I was just listening to her for all the sessions. Few tips and tricks here and there, building on the self-esteem, creating affirmations for the child so that they talk and in the way that is customized. Some are visual, some are or some like to listen, some like to write. So that's how we worked up. And she said, you know what? Now I feel I can do something. I am somebody. And that was like, oh, thank God, I am, at least I am happy that I could help.
So that loss of identity comes back, when they have this conversation with you, the loss of identity basically comes back. That's what I'm seeing whenever you are giving me these case studies.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, this is interesting actually, because when you speak of brain dump, when you speak of, brain dump in your terminology is nothing but journal writing for us, where we keep writing down whatever we want. And that was a good habit back then. But today, as you rightly said, with a lot of distraction and availability of technology, people prefer to text, or people prefer to record video logs or audio logs, or somebody there available, they would like to dump all their feelings and went out, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
What I also understand from the way you spoke is, majority of the time it is interlinked. So self-esteem is interlinked to the relationship issue, and relationship is interlinked to the final academic performance. And what is more important is, while these interlinkages do exist, the real problem or the challenge for all of us in our own lives is we try to give band-aid solutions to consequences or to symptoms rather than going little more deeper. So one is, okay, you can fix it quickly and then move on. But then I want to look at the other side. If you keep fixing quickly, like using band-aid solutions, is there long-term harm on the child mind as well as on the child's ability to deal with life? Because I want you to spend some time on that, because I'm sure that's your area of expertise too.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing happens is that if the child just keeps saying, they just don't converse with parents, or they feel, I think many of the parents here would agree that every time you say something, the child says, you can't understand, you will never get it. Okay, so that's there. But the thing is that it keeps happening and happening over and over again, and then they end up getting into people whom they don't know. So social media now is like they can just access anybody. It's like Instagram, Snapchats, Facebooks, everywhere. They just get into wrong company. Maybe they're actually, the only problem with the teenagers is that they just miss something called as an emotional tank. It's empty. They need love. As a child, we pamper our children with a lot of love, and suddenly they enter into teenage. I don't know what happens to us. We said, you are an adult now, and you give mixed messages. You're a child, you do this, why you're behaving this. So they don't know, and then suddenly you treat them like adults when they are actually not. So the way of expressing love changes for us, and they miss it. And so they try to find love in other places. It's not a relationship or a dating love or something that we're talking about. It's about friendships. In friends, they find that connection because they're in the same boat. So they try to bond with each other. But what happens is there they can end up into wrong friendships. They can have peer pressures, to be anti against parents. They can end up into drugs, alcohol, have a lot of risky behaviors. And it's not their problem. It's basically they have something called the frontal cortex, which is not developed, which is decision making brain. You can go and check it out. It develops till the age of 6, till the age of 10, and then after 20. So in between, there is no major growth in that.
Okay.
The decisions they make is because of that. So end up into drug abuse. They can end up into suicidal tendencies. How many of us have heard children committing suicides, going into depression. We feel, many of my people, when I talk about life coaching, many of the parents just say, you know, my child is fine. Oh, I'm so nice, I'm so glad that it wasn't my child who faced this situation. How do you know it's not your child? I didn't know. I had to research, I had to find out whether it is my child, how to work on it. So you have to catch it at the warning signs. If you don't, it's going to be a problem, and then they have problematic adulthood. A lot of addictions, wrong decisions, lack of concentration. They can't stay in a single job. They can't have a stability of jobs. The relationships don't happen. You know, it just, you're just jumping from one relation to the other. They have constant fights with parents. A lot of issues which are specifically related to teenage, which we don't realize. But that's a long time once we realize as adults, and then go back to sort it out, it's difficult. So that's where, because as parents, yes, we understand our kids, but as a life coach, I am a third party who sits on the top and visualize from above, so I can assess the things better. As a parent, I when I'm talking to my teen, I have emotional connect with her. But when I'm my teen also has a different, as a life coach, but it's not me. She shares a lot of things with me, but it's my friend who's life coaching her. So it's that how it works. Because as a parent, I am emotional, I may put in wrong decisions on her head. So that's, it's better, I urge that you start early and understand it. Take a little effort from your side all too.
Well, fair enough. Very, very nicely put. What I understand here is that critical space of teenage for children is neither they are in the childhood or they are in the adulthood. So they are in between, and which we oftentimes fail to recognize and realize as adults, as parents. So for some things which are convenient to us, we want them to be children still, where we will be in the driver's seat of deciding for them. And for certain things where we think it is too menial or it is too monotonous for us, we'll say, okay, now that you are an adult, you go ahead and start executing that. And I think that confusion or inconsistency in and be parents behavior is what pushing the children to that kind of a space where they don't know what to do. And you brought the biological context over there. The frontal cortex does not get developed fully, and that's where the situation of decision making is not very robust.
Yes.
Now, the other thing I also picked up from your conversation is you said that we need to start early. We need to start early, and we need to pick up those early warning signs. May not be red flags, but there are slight and delicate things. So, for the benefit of the parents, I'm sure parents are getting ready with their questions, and I want to urge all of you viewers, if you have any specific question to be asked to Dr. Smita, please put it on the comments column. I'm going to pick them up and then share with her, and let us see if we can get some solutions during this interaction. But to start off the questioning, I want to ask you, are there any tips for parents which they can pick up to say that, okay, these are the warning signs which I need to be careful about or cautious about? Can you tell us at least one or two?
Yeah, basically warning signs is, suddenly if your happy teen becomes lonely, they don't want to talk to anybody, very silent, or becoming very aggressive.
Okay.
They are upset at very small things, and maybe anger bouts.
Okay.
There's somewhere that is something is troubling them deep inside. They may not share it openly. If you ask them, they may not. You just need to pat their shoulder or just sit with them and just chat and chat and chat, and then during the chat conversation it just comes out. So it's like, parents, we need to take out unlimited time for our teenagers. So when you sit, it's like when you're sitting and chatting with your old buddies. It's like you sit and you never know the time goes away. That's the same thing that happens. I many a times I just sit with my teen, and we start with some stupid conversation, but it ends up into she sharing everything with me and I sharing it. And one more thing is, as a parent, you need to be totally transparent with your teenager. Don't hide things from them. Share your feelings, share your vulnerabilities, share what's happening with you in your life, so they know that they are in the same boat just like you. And if you're true and open to your teenager, they understand by feelings. The teenagers language of understanding is feelings. They don't hear words, they assess feelings, they understand and speak feelings.
All right. So if your happy teenager becomes lonely, or if there are anger bouts, or if there is something which is not normal, because as parents, we all have this great gift of sixth sense. You can actually pick up certain things which are not very normal around you, whether it is your spouse or whether it is your children or even relatives who come in, who go out. You can pick that up. So keep your antenna up and look for these signals, and that's very, very important. And another important part which you shared is we need to also be equally transparent. Okay, whatever is relevant to them, especially feelings, you got to be open and transparent, because you cannot expect it to be a one-way traffic. It has to be a two-way traffic where you give them and they give you what they have, and together you make it an invested relationship. So that's the whole idea, because I am invested with my child, I am invested in this relationship, and that's when I have the moral and the ethical right to also get back that investment from the child, and that expectation is set.
Right.
Now, I want to talk about a little detour here, because my audience today is both parents who are having their own children, but also professionals. Some of them are even teachers. Now, that makes it a double whammy, because not just their children, they will also be dealing with a lot of children in their classrooms. Now, I want you to speak a little about what role a teacher can play in a classroom, because as the saying goes, home is the first school and school is the second home. Parents are the first teachers and teachers are the next parents. So I want you to talk about what role a teacher can play in making sure that the child has a great life, childhood and teenage especially. So a little bit about that, Dr. Smita.
Okay, so basically for teachers, many a times when in our generations, when I was a kid, I was a teenager, negative motivation always worked. But here it doesn't. With a teen, this generation, they will just shut down. If you just tell them you are useless, you're worthless, you will not, you will fail in this, they'll shut down and not do it again. They will start hating the subject. I had my daughter who hated trigonometry, quadratic equations, not trigonometry, quadratic equations or algebra, just because she was being teased and I didn't realize. And in the 11th grade, she just did it and she did not know the word algebra and she scored well. So it's the teachers, you need to be very clear on what you're talking to the teen. If a child is a problematic child and troubling the class always and mischievous, that's a child that you should note on. Remember, there's something gone and wrong in this child. Be careful. And maybe I could just give a tip to the teachers. If this is a little bit of an extra effort you can do if you really genuinely care for your kids. There are two books. One is Personality Plus and one is Five Love Languages.
So
Personality Plus.
Go a little slow there. The titles of the book, can you repeat it one more time?
Personality Plus.
Personality Plus, okay.
Yeah. By Florence Littor. It's a very old book. And there's something called as Five Love Languages for Teenagers or for kids. There are two books. If you can just do this homework of assessing every child according to the personality and their love language, you treat the child in that way. It's a little bit of extra effort, but you will be the most favorite teacher that the child will ever have, and they will cherish you. So that's really important, because treat them as individuals, treat them, respect them, and don't shun on them. Because the moment you shun a teenager, they feel they are worthless, because they put you, just as you said, teacher is the next parent, they put you at a pedestal. And if you talk bad about them, if you consider them worthless, they feel, yes, the teacher considers me worthless, my parent considers me worthless, so I am worthless. And that stays in their unconscious mind for years together. And it affects their future.
So that's true. As you rightly said, and first of all, thank you so much for recommending those two books. I'm sure both parents and teachers will latch on to those two books, because that's the need, right? Sorry?
It saved my life.
It saved my life. That's coming out of experience and personal, whole experiment. So the idea here is, one, as parents and teachers, we need to pick up those two books and go that extra mile. But more importantly, when I start as an adult, as an matured, independent adult, if I start talking the language of my teen, then wonders start to happen, because they feel great to be around you. And that's the beginning of the change to come in. So when they start cherishing your presence around them, I think that's the change which we are all talking about.
Yeah.
I want to take a little pause here. and then go into one of the questions which has come up from the audience so that we can actually take that and answer that. So the question here comes from a lady called Varsha, and she asks, my son is not at all interested in studies. I tried everything what I could. What should we do as parents? How to encourage him? Because nowadays we cannot give pressure to, they will do suicide and all. I'm scared. So this is exactly what I'm reading from the post, but I think you got the essence of it. So maybe you can take a go at that question, Dr. Smita.
See, basically, that's 80% of the teenagers I talk to. They said I'm not interested in studies. It's basically, it's not that they're not interested in studies. The technique that they work on in studies may be different. And if you have tried different techniques and working, now just tell him, okay, you're not interested in studies, just for a time, let's take a break. And since it's a lockdown time, I think we all have, this is something come as a blessing where we could actually get back and bond with our teenagers. Sit with them and talk about your life, talk about their life, what future they want to have, picturize it for them, visualize it for them, and that may open up scenarios where they will come up with why he doesn't want to study. Is he interested in something else? Are you focusing on a different subject? Okay,
All right.
so it's like you need to open up, because many of the times parents are totally dogmatic. This is exactly what you need to do. Going to the curriculum, you need to become a doctor, an engineer, a CA, or whatever the parent wants the child to be. But maybe the child is interested in something else. My daughter, we are both doctors in the family. The entire people around, they ask us, why isn't your daughter becoming a doctor? Because she's more interested into art, performing arts, a lot of different things. But we could have the chance to give her a choice, because we sat with her, had conversations. Yes, there were days when we pressurized her too, but we could see it in her results then. The moment they do things that they like, it's not a specific career or profession that defines them. If you go back and search on the web, you will find successful people have already done 5 6 different professions until and unless they ended up in their passion. I am an anesthesiologist. I am a wellness consultant. Here I am. My passion is life coaching with teenagers. What does it have to do with my education? It's something that you feel happy from inside. So first thing is, go back, Varsha, and work with your son, with his relationship with you. Become that old mom and child relationship. Then maybe you can think, and he will come and share with you what exactly he wants to, because there must be some scare factor saying that. And one more thing, don't ever worry about a child committing suicide or depression. Most 90% of the time, the teenagers just show it off so that they can scare their parents. So tell him, always use this sentence, always, come what may, I believe in my upbringing, and I know you will do the best. So that gives you a trust that your upbringing was right, and the teenager will never ever do suicide or anything wrong. If you utter the word that triggers in their mind, you can just say, I believe in you, I believe in my upbringing, whatever you will do is right, and I know you will be successful in life in whatever field you do. So that's an affirmation for yourself. I keep doing it for myself. So I know, because more than you, I have heard about cases of suicides and depressions and issues. I'm reading it day in and day out with teenagers. It should scare me like crazy. So I'm using that. So first, you believe in your upbringing, believe in yourself, believe in your teenager, and trust him 200%. Nothing is going to happen. He will not commit suicide. He will not go into depression.
Well, that is a lot of positivity there and a lot of confidence there. And thank you very much for that affirmation. Now, I hope, Madam Varsha, you got an answer, but I want to thank you for taking the courage to put that, because I know it takes a lot of courage to actually talk about your challenge, especially when it comes to this issue in front of unknown people. And you have taken the courage to put it on the chat or the comments window. I really appreciate you for that. And I want to thank you once again for sharing that piece of your life with us. Now, Dr. Smita, the question is for you now. What I am able to get a feeling is there are these issues which are different to different children. Now, no two children are similar. We all know it. Every child is unique. But when it comes to these, there is lot of variation from every child to every child, and the word is customization. But I also understand that there has to be a method to this madness, because you cannot keep customizing things, because you need to have a framework, if I may use the word framework. Now, I want you to talk a little about when you deal with teenagers or parents, you must have put in some programs together, like some frameworks as to maybe with children or with adults, or first of all, do you even engage with parents? I don't know. So can you talk about the offerings, the programs, what you have in terms of a framework? Because I'm sure many people, the idea of this session is they can understand the iceberg, but then the iceberg is only the tip of the iceberg in this, but then they have to go deep beneath, and that can happen only when they know the offerings and the programs you have. So talk us a little bit about the kind of programs you offer for people and parents in general.
Okay, so basically, Dr. Chandra, I do live coaching. Specifically, it's one-on-one sessions with the parents, with the teenagers. So I have a groups coaching session and live coaching sessions. So one-on-one coaching sessions. Group coaching is where I engage with teenagers on a weekly basis. There are some video lessons. We just talk about self-identity principles. Yesterday we had a session when we actually worked on their personalities, and they were very happy to know what kind of people they are. So, and they were making fun. Oh, my mom is like that. That's why I hear this. She's saying it to me, so they could understand those things. So it's more of a 5-week interactive session where I work with them once a week. I upload few fun activities for them. They do it online through the website, and we work on that. And for specific needs, or sometimes many of them are coaching with me one-on-one also. And if you feel that if the teenager doesn't have any major issues, but one point of area, it's academics or relationship or anything, there's a 5-week program which I offer. It's one-on-one session with me once a week, and obviously it's very customized, so based on the needs of the teenager. And I cover up one area specifically, which is a need for the teenager, and I offer a complimentary intake session with the parent for almost 1.5 hours, where we discuss everything about the child and what are the common goals we work on. And then there is an advanced program where it's a 15-week program, which actually works in a lot of transformation, because I'm working on the wholesome area of the child. And obviously, just like the first one, they have a post parent intake session too, and one-on-one sessions. And along with that, I work with mindset coaching. I work with wellness also, since I'm a wellness advisor. I do that. Law of attraction coaching is done. A lot of different areas and scenarios. And also I offer 2 complimentary parent review sessions during the phase of 15 weeks. So it's like, 6th and 15th week. So I sit with the parents and say, this is where we started. Here it is what's happened. We work on that. Then we work on a common review and go back again. So that's how we work. And many of the times, most of the teenagers like to start with me is because we sign a confidentiality agreement where whatever they share with me doesn't go to their parents. Okay, so they're happy. The first thing is, okay, fine, you'll not share anything with my parents, so I'm okay with it. But understand, parents, many of the parents don't want to send their child because they feel the family secrets will be out or something like that. Nothing happens because it's confidential. And after 5 to 10 sessions, the teenager actually says, yes, you can share everything with my parents. And now they become transparent. So it's like, for me, I know they're anyways going to tell everything to their parents. I don't need to tell it to them. So end of the session at 15 weeks is total transparency between me, the teenager, and the parent. So it's an open book for everyone. That's how happens with the ending of the session. So these are 3 offerings. Okay. And for parents specifically, since I have got a lot of demands, I normally don't work with parents, but I am starting a support group or a support community and a subscription-based program from the 2nd of August, 1st and 3rd Sunday, where I will be talking to parents for 2 hours. Okay. So maybe if you're interested, they can also connect with that, but that will be only group sessions, not one-on-one with parents. It's just supporting, being part of a community, share your problems, and we work as a community and feel together.
So what I understand is you have basically 3 offerings. One is your group counseling sessions for teenagers. Now, when you say group, what is the number of students who will be a part of the group? Just for an idea.
It's 10 to 15 people.
Okay.
But yeah, not more, because it doesn't work well with that. But still, it depends on the group synergy, because my aim here in the group sessions, because in the teen clubs we have this, is the teenager feels that they are not the only person in the boat.
Yeah.
Everybody has same issues just like me, so my life is not hell.
So they can find somebody to relate to and be a
Yes.
part of it. Okay. So that's group coaching where you have around maximum 10 to 15 teenagers and they'll be coming together and they will be doing it with you once a week or whatever.
Yeah.
Now the other one is the 5-week basic program, which is one-on-one, where
Yes.
you will be hand-holding the teenager and trying to sort out their issues and challenges. The advanced level of the same one-on-one program is for 15 weeks.
Yes.
And that's where you actually bring in the transformation for the children at a more deeper level.
Yes.
Right. So this is what it is. Now, you also said about one other program which you're starting, I think, 2nd of August, which is for parents. So
Yes.
it's kind of a group counseling or a group session for parents. That's what I understand, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, how do people reach out to you if they want to kind of sign up to this program or anything? Is there a website? Is there a link which I can share so that many parents can reach out to you?
Just a second. Can I type it in the chat window so you get it?
Yeah, sure. Please. I can share it on the thing to people. Okay, so the one you have typed on the chat window, whatever you're going to share, that I can share it with people?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
so I'm just, give me a second. I will just do that. And 1 second. So while we actually share this link and help people to take advantage, there is also another question which has come up. Okay, so this is the link. So parents and viewers who are watching, I have just put the link on the comments column of this live episode. So you can actually use that link to reach out to Dr. Smita and have a conversation with her and also understand more about her offerings. So please go back to that link and take it forward. But that being said, let me quickly go to the question. Now I have a question from Divya. Now her question to you, Dr. Smita, is as a teacher, she's a teacher. As a teacher, I found today's youngsters are not goal oriented. They take each opportunity to have fun and enjoyment. Very often they get distracted from fancy world. As a teacher, how can I motivate them to involve in constructive work?
Okay. See, I know you have a bigger opportunity as a teacher because you have an entire year working with her, with the child. So obviously you need to, and if you have the opportunity and if you're specifically focused with some children, you can actually check with them what exactly do they want in life. Many a times the children share their things with the teacher rather than their parents. So you can sit with them maybe one-on-one or personally if you get the time or for 10 minutes and just think, brainstorm with them the ideas that they want to do and check what way they like to study. Because just like I mentioned, with the different personality traits, there are different ways that they study. So they need to understand, some are visual, some, as teachers, I mean, I didn't need to tell you all this. They like, some of them just like to brainstorm ideas and they will come up with a new idea. They can be creative. And when they're working with fancy words, you learn those fancy words which they love and you put it on them back. You know what, you wanted to be like this. That requires to start from there, start from the future, what they wanted, that fancy word, pick that up and make their goal, and come back to your situation here and say, you know what, to get this we need to go here, so let's work backward. This happens, and then you come here and then you start from here. So now you have a person who's goal oriented. And some kids just like to have fun, but those kids are called as sanguine characters. You can check in the Personality Plus book. But when they are given small notes, small tasks, one at a time, they can actually build it up very big.
Okay.
So every child is different. So it's, you need to, if you're really dedicated, I can see from the concern that you have, you really love the children. So you can actually help them do those things.
That's right. So I mean, begin with the end in mind is what I could understand
Yes,
when you said.
absolutely.
But also you have to be smart. Divya, if you are listening still, I think the answer lies in being an effective listener. Listen to those fancy terminologies which children are using and try to use it to your advantage for their benefit. Now, please understand, you have to use it to your advantage so that you can push your agenda forward, but at the same time for the benefit of the child and no vested interest over there. So I think, yeah, I think she's there, and she already said thank you so much. This helps. So the feedback is instant. So that being said,
Dr. Chandra, 1 second. One more
yes,
thing,
yes,
Divya. I said use the fancy words, but teens don't like you imitating them. So when
okay.
you're using the fancy words, be very cautious, because if you say bro and all these teen slangs, they just don't like. They don't like you to be part of them until and unless they give you permission that yeah, it's okay if you say that. So being a life coach, I can't say those words to few of the kids. So they don't like it because they feel you are different. So you need to use it very judiciously.
So, well, then I think I need to stop here and ask you, are there a set of do's and don'ts which parents and teachers should understand when they are dealing with children? Because with your experience and the way you deal with people, I'm sure you must have a secret sauce of do's and don'ts for parents and how can they handle it. So, do you mind taking us through those things? Because
Yeah,
that is going to be the real value addition for us from this session.
I'll just share a screen because I do a lot of webinars where I'm doing this. I'll just share my PPT,
Please,
a
please.
short one. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Just a second.
In fact, what I will do, I will shut off my video so that it will be your video and your slide on the screen for the viewer, so there's no distraction. Okay?
Okay, I'm just sharing the screen.
Yes, please.
So this all you all know, so I'm just running it through. These are the don'ts which I want you all to understand, is that expect that how you have to figure out the teenagers' issues. You need to understand that they need homeworks. Don't expect that they will do their homework on their own. So you just don't scream at, do your homework, do this, do that. Then stop giving mixed messages. It's like, you are an adult and you are a teenager, you're a kid. So they are confused. That we've already spoken about it. Consider them as an individual, as a young adult, or a person with a different personality. Treat them like a individual, not like, sometimes a kid and sometimes an adult. And don't stop being there for them. It's many a times what happens is the parents actually feel that they teenagers not talking to me, so I just want to leave them alone. Don't do that, because leaving them alone, they will, when they have a vulnerable situation and a scary one, they will not have anyone to share it with. So come what may, whatever happens, if they are angry with you, reconcile with them. If they don't even talk to them, just give them a message, a feeling message that you are always there for them. So whenever they have an issue, they come back. Don't shout, scream, and hit teenagers. Shouting and screaming is basically their hormones are having a jump up and down, and that is why there is a lot of aggression. You don't show those aggressions because your frontal lobes have been settled, developed. So it's better that you just, keep calm and just put yourself in that scenario. If you were in that scenario and somebody kept shouting and screaming at you and hitting you, wouldn't you retaliate? That's exactly what your teen is doing. If it happens to you at work, what is going to happen? So it's the same way. So remember, don't do that. And don't say, oh, I'm so glad it wasn't my child. It's like if there is an accident, a teenager does anything risky or anything, don't just say, oh, thank God it's not my child. You never know when it can be. Cancel, everything's fine. Don't ridicule, ever make fun of them. Don't judge them because, oh, you did this, that means you must be thinking like this. No, don't judge them. The biggest thing that teenagers don't like is being judged, and that is why they be quiet. They feel if I express an opinion, I'll be judged. Don't be disapproving. Understand and accept things. Don't dismiss their things. If they give a suggestion, oh, you don't understand, you're just a kid, don't do that. Listen to them. Don't overwhelm your teenagers with multiple instructions. They understand one thing at a time. Do this, you are not like this, you are not like that. If you're constantly nagging, just imagine you're just becoming your boss, or a person who's constantly nagging and sitting on your head. Imagine yourself in their place, and don't ever criticize. I started with the don'ts because I want you to leave with the do's in your mind. So this is the do's. Just like I said, put yourself in your teenager's shoes. Think like them. Think as if as teens would, how you were. Maybe the traits have come from you. Always be there for them. Always be there for them. And if your teenager cannot plan anything, just you plan the study place, you plan a study schedule, and give them one day at a time. You know, this is what you need to do. This is what I feel you need to do. Don't give orders. And when you're speaking, always say, you know, wow, I'm so proud that you're my child. Thank you for choosing me as your parent. You know, that gives them so much of confidence that I am cared for. I am someone important in my child's, in my parents' life. As I said, give them instructions one at a time. You can even do these, you know, if you can't express, write and put praise words, write letters, send praise text messages, just casual, you're the best. You know what, you did that, the way you kept your book was lovely. The way you said this was lovely. Just said that. Speak their love language. So I mentioned about the 5 love languages. You will understand how to speak to them in that language. Work by understanding their personality traits. Some children are fun loving, some children are very systematic, some children are very strong headed. Understand their personality trait and work with them in that way. But first, understand yours and then see how you can blend together. And give them one task at a time. Always appreciate and applaud them for the smallest of the efforts they can take to accomplish things. And you can just remember, make this as your affirmation: my child is unique. And always say, my child is unique and always the best. If you keep saying this, you will not ever compare your child even with your own other second child. You will feel, yes, my child is unique, so every character that they have is unique, everything that they say is unique. So these are few of the do's and the don'ts which I feel will help. And that is how you can actually have a successful teenager, super successful teen, just by simplifying teenage. And that's exactly what we're looking for the year after 2020, because thank god with the pandemic we are all with our kids and we have more time to understand them, to work with them and work as a family towards a family goal. That's it from my side.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really helpful. Especially, I like the idea of putting the don'ts first so that you can actually leave the audience with do's. Because normally, I've always seen the other way where the don'ts come later and do's start off the discussion or the conversation. Now, I'm sure the parents and the viewers have got a hold on what is teen life coaching and also what their role is in handling the children in a more effective and a more emotionally charged way, and that way they can establish a better bond and a better relationship. Now, there are a couple of things which I want to ask you before we actually conclude. Is number one, at what age, at what age, I know the definition of teenage is blurring, because today a grade 2 child can have so much exposure that he can actually give the teenager a run for his or her money, because that's the kind of exposure today children are entering into or already there. And as parents, somewhere I feel we are lagging behind because we don't catch up, and we are always playing that game of I will catch up with you and be upfront with you and all that. So at what age, that's my first question really for you. At what age you think is parents should actually start shifting the gears? That place where, you said at the beginning of this conversation that, we have been pampering our children and loving them, and suddenly we feel that, okay, they are grown up. And what is that age in your experience when you said start early is better for you? What age it should be the time when parents can start being conscious of their role which is changing with their child?
Around 11. At
Okay.
the age of 11 years, basically, because I'm coaching few tweens also who are 9-year-old, 10-year-olds also. So
Oh,
I
okay.
know the transformation, and it was they not in there separately, because it's my friends who trusted me and just I started the coaching with them. But that's where they transition into it, because now is the time when they're actually, these kids are getting exposed to online learning.
Okay.
So by default, there are pop-up windows coming up when the YouTube channels are going on. Even in your YouTube Kids or many other places, there are different pop-up windows coming up. You need to constantly watch. So that's the time when you start treating them as adults and teaching them right ways and also working with them. So that's how you start. But since you said the teenage is diminishing or the age is going, I would just like to tell you a recent update. is that now the teenagers is like, teenage is extended up to the age of 22.
Wow.
Like what they say is the age of 18 to 22 is the most vulnerable right now because they suddenly get freedom.
Yeah.
Okay. But they are actually the frontal cortex develops only after 20.
Okay.
So that's being extended. So they say it's young adults because they are adults officially, but actually they are more vulnerable.
Yes.
Many of
They're
us,
still in the transition period.
yeah, the college, the transition. There were days when we also have gone through these situations, but it's become very vulnerable right now because for them, fitting in is the biggest issue. And when they have that self-esteem and low, then they do anything to any extent to just fit in the company and the group and to decide between right and wrong.
I think the language or the word to use the teenagers word is FOMO, fear of missing out.
FOMO, yes,
The
absolutely.
FOMO is what will catch up with them, the
Yeah.
fear of missing out, and that's when the change really brings in. Right. Now, you brought in another point, which was actually my second question, is we all know we are going through pandemic. We all know we are going through certain unprecedented times. And of course, the positive side is we get more family time, we get to spend time with our children. And the flip side is we are all cramped up in our homes. And believe it or not, as much as I loved staying indoors, a little bit of balance between indoors and outdoors is something which is advisable and it is a prescription for good,
Absolutely.
healthy lifestyle. Now, I want to take advice from you as a teen life coach as to in the pandemic, because this situation is becoming normal, but it is little slow. Maybe by the end of this year, I think we'll be completely back to normal or the new normal as they are calling these days. But what is that role which you think a parent can play sitting in their homes and trying to take care of it? What is that extra thing or extra care they need to take for this unprecedented situation? Any one or two things which parents can use it?
See, basically, I would just like to take this as an opportunity to work on a common family goal.
Okay.
Normally, we don't have family goals. A husband has their own goal, wife has, and the common family goal is like, finances for the house or, other things. Can we just work on a common family goal where the family wants to go together and achieve success together? So work on the principles, what your children want to do. Maybe you can just sit every week, just have fun randomly, just visualizing things. It would be fun where we could go, fantasize things and
Imagine.
imagine it and put it on paper, because it's always said when you imagine and put it on paper, it happens. That's how the universe gives it to you. So put that, work towards a family goal. You know what, if you achieve this, I achieve this in office, and mom achieves this, and your child sister achieves this, we will go to this place, a place where is common activities, a place where we all like to do, or we will do this, or we will buy this. Maybe it's a common goal, you work on that, it helps a lot. It actually helps a lot. Instead of discussing the pandemic, discuss how it's going to be your new normal.
Okay.
What is a new family that you will build up? What's a new thing that you can actually create as your own family? It really helps. It helps you to keep, during this pandemic situation now, I really don't have time to even think about. I'm a doctor. I am in multiple groups. I get so many updates of the COVID situation, but not even single time that thing comes, what happens next. Because I am so focused on working this, because if you keep thinking about the future, what's happening and how it can change your own life, that nothing affects. And if you are a person that keeps you positivity up, no pandemic is going to affect you. It's going to take you to a better future. So that's a common goal you need to work on.
Common
The
family.
child believes in you. If the parent, as a parent, you are positive and working towards strong goals, and they know that you're working towards it, they will work. You get a goal oriented child at home.
Yeah, that's interesting. A common family goal, which results in a goal oriented child at your home, and also an opportunity for all of us to come together and align ourselves. And this is a better chance and an opportunity, because if we keep hearing this again, and I think I have started to believe it, it's like the God or some supreme power has pressed the pause button for everybody's lives,
Yes.
right? All of us have got another chance to reflect and to re-strategize or reorient ourselves and then create a new reality for us. So let's make the most of it. I think that's a very, very valid suggestion, Dr. Smita. A common family goal.
Yeah, and one
Now,
more tip I would like to give is, I know it's foolish. My daughter laughs on it. I watch Disney movies a lot.
okay.
Believe in Walt Disney's line when he said that if you want your child to become successful and creative, let them watch cartoons and fairy tales. You know what? You won't believe every Disney movie comes with a message that is best for us as adults. So
Yeah.
I watch a lot of Disney movies with the children. I know the teenagers may or may not like it, but it's something that I sit and connect with. So that's how I watch movies with my TV, the teens. I go out and watch, and they have their likings. So when you get a message, it's something that works. So maybe a common goal can be watch common movies, watch movies which are more positive, which gives you a belief and visualization that it can happen.
So maybe that is my takeaway from the session, because I have never watched any Disney movie or any animated movies. In fact, I vaguely remember the one movie which I was forced to watch was The Lion King.
Okay.
So I had no choice. I was in this friend's place, caught up, and they all decided. And that was complete democracy, where they all ruled it out and said, nothing doing. Seven of us are here. Six of us want to watch it. You do not want to watch. You have two options. One, close your eyes, or two, open your eyes. That's it. You're not even going out of this house. And I had no choice, but I must confess that it was a good movie. I really loved it. I enjoyed it, and I like the way, as you said, the messages which are for us as even grown-ups are so sweetly integrated into conversations. And the best part is it's light on your mind. It's not heavy. It's not somebody who is there with a beard or with a nice acting skill trying to breathe down your neck. It's a cartoon at the end of the day, so you can always say, oh, okay, it's just that Mowgli, or that Chotu lion or whatever. But then the idea is the message remains with you for life. So I think that's my takeaway, that we will kind of spend time watching Disney movies. And I think all of us have these Hotstar
Yes,
subscriptions. So
Disney
now
has
that,
specifically come up with Hotstar. Disney
yeah,
Hotstar is a set there.
Disney and Hotstar, so we can always go back and check into that. Now, the last question before we call it off is, in families, especially in homes, today we have this situation where we have more than one child, the siblings. Now, there are cases where both the children are in their teens or tweens, as you call it.
Yeah.
But there are cases when sometimes the elder child is in the teenage and the younger one is really not there, maybe below 9 or below 10. But then the problem is of influence. When the
Yeah.
teenager behaves in a particular manner, that kind of rubs off on the younger one, and it's a signal for the younger one saying, okay, when I grow up, I'm going to do this, because it's really okay to do it and get away in this house, because parents are okay with my elder brother or sister doing it. Now, I want to understand from you as a teen life coach as to what can we do when we have siblings at home, and how do we deal this, because I'm sure this needs a different approach and a different formula. So I need your inputs and insights on that.
Yeah, you said that the teen says it's okay when I grow up. It's not the situation now here. I have parents who say that, even right now they say, if you allow my sister to do that, why can't I do it?
Oh,
If
okay.
she stays out late, if she goes out to friends' parties, why
So,
can't
so
I do
I am outdated. They are out. They are updated. Yeah.
it? So basically, I know it's a very tricky situation, because personally I don't have a second child, so I don't have much experience with on my personal level. But what I have learned is, if you can equip your elder teen to maybe connect to the child as a second mother, the younger sibling, and see, listen, whatever you do, they're following you. But that has to be put in a very subtle way, in such a way that they realize ki, yes, if I do anything wrong, this child is gonna, I'm putting my younger sibling's life in jeopardy.
Okay. So lead by example kind of a
By
philosophy.
example, because that's exactly what I did. The day I came to know, my mother-in-law once told me, when you go out, your daughter behaves exactly like you. That's the day I just hit me so straight that I said, okay, from now on, I need to lead by example. So I was so cautious with the way I work, with the way I do, and exactly that. So you need to put in, and my opinion will be that lot of the times they always feel that there's a common thing, every child feels the parent favors the other more. So you will have to, it's a juggling thing, but preferably your teenager is into a more vulnerable situation. So put in a lot of love to that, and let the love and emotional tank expand, overflow from your teenager's heart, and it goes to the younger sibling. So it's like, they are a bond, and the child has to follow, the teenager has to lead by example.
Yeah.
I know it's very tricky. It's very, very difficult situation. I know, but maybe these few tips could help. I cannot, say anything more with whatever experience I have gained working with teens, because I have a recent example where it's happened, where they used to fight a lot. And suddenly now, when I had a session with the parent review, they said the bond has become exceptionally good. I don't know what happened. So it was, I put in the elder teen the responsibility that you are there for your child. So whatever you're going through teenage, make it a point that your sibling doesn't go through that phase.
No, that's interesting. I mean, you actually have said it all. You say that I have not got anything more to tell, but actually speaking, you said it all. That's a very practical approach, and I'm sure viewers and parents and teachers today who have joined us, almost 100 people or more, have watched us live on different Facebook pages, and I'm sure they all have got tremendous value taking back from this conversation, be it the two books which you recommended, be it the tip of trying to do the things which you put it on your slide, or the don'ts, or even the last tip which I personally cherish, that go back and watch Disney movies. You have said it all, and I really want to thank you for that. And I'm sure parents who have actually asked questions, you got answers. Dr. Smita has been patient enough, kind enough to share her experiences with people, and of course upholding her confidentiality clause with a lot of her clients and customers, but still she's able to deliver value to us. And once again, I want to draw your attention. I know that 1 hour is too less, but if you would like to engage with them, engage with her on a more deeper level, please connect with her on that link, and I'm sure she will be more than happy to have a conversation with you. I think the questions are not stopping. There are a little more questions which have come up, and I think I need to actually ask those two questions to be fair to them. One, mm, okay, so one compliment to you, Dr. Smita. This is Dr. Madhuri Patil, and she says, best discussion I have attended on teenagers' life so
Thank,
far.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Madhuri Patil. And I think the question here, where did that question go? The comments are so many that I actually missed the question. Oh, there are a lot of compliments, brilliant conversation, amazing, wonderful session. The question, do both girls and boys have the same changes or symptoms when they get into teens? This is from one Miss Rajeshwari Gupta. So, do both boys and girls, that is genders, have the same changes or symptoms when they get into their teens? Do you like to answer that?
No, basically there are different things because the hormones work differently. And boys, yes, they become a lot of aggressive, and all the anger bouts and all issues happen with them, but handling them is the same.
Okay.
Handling is the similar. The only challenge that happens in initially in is in girls, the challenge is more because at when we were kids, like grandparents, our parents and grandparents, we were focused that you are at home, you're not going to do anything. Then it switched to working, being independent. You're working, supporting your house, supporting your family, but now the girls have to compete with the boys. It's like, it's become a, they're crushed into three different roles. You need to compete with the boys, and you need to be at par with all the people, your peers. You should be good in your studies, and you should be able to take care of the household. So you need to know to cook, you need to know to this. So there are, invariably that old traditional mother will come and say, you need to cook, you need to know this, how are you going to manage your house? So all those things are more added pressure to the child, to the girl, basically. But it's not less for the boys too. They have other issues. They need to be part of the boys group, and majorly, and it's very easy. It's a common trend when men and women, when boys and girls are there. As kids, girls bond with their dads, and the boys bond with their moms. But when they go into their puberty and age group, it should be slightly different more, because boys need a friend. So dads jump into that, and girls also need a friend to understand their perspective. So moms, you need to put in there, and don't favor the boy over the girl, or vice versa. So you need to switch roles sometimes, but it's the handling is the same.
Okay. Okay. No, fair enough. I mean, it's an ocean. It cannot be handled in one shot. And as they rightly say, parenting itself is an institution.
Yes.
So when the child is born, a parent is born. Okay. So and you learn along with your child, and we grow together. So
And we never
that's the
graduate.
yeah. You never graduate. There is no convocation. There is no graduation. You are a lifelong learner. So that's how it is. So with this, I want to really thank you. I think we are well past the 12 o'clock. So the conversation took us 13 minutes into the next hour, but nevertheless, we have delivered value. That's what my hope is. And I really want to thank you, Dr. Smita, for taking the time to engage with our audience and also enlighten and enrich us with your insights. Because believe you me, a 1 hour conversation from a person who's a professional and an expert like you is equivalent to having read 4 or 5 books, because at the end of the day that's a theory, but this is real life, and you are giving us interventions which has worked in somebody's life. And somebody wisely said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel as long as you know to move the wheel,
Yes.
right? So you get going. So that's the real factor here, and that's the real purpose of these sessions. So thank you so much once again for helping us and for making us understand these tricky nuances of teenage. And I think you will see a lot of people coming back to you. Already I've got personal messages where people have said that when can we connect, and how do we take it forward. So the link is there for all of you viewers. You can connect with her, register for her programs, and I can personally vouch that she is one person who keeps delivering value right on the top of her priority list. She will not let you or me down, because I have really known her for some time. And then this entire 1 hour conversation is where she has actually exposed you to her in-depth analysis and understanding of this particular speciality or specific area of interest, which is the teenage of your children. So thanks once again, viewers. We will be signing off. We will come back with more sessions sooner, but till then, stay safe and take care of yourself. Dr. Smita, over to you for last words, and then we will sign out. Your last words to the audience.
Thank you very much. I am really obliged to be part of it, and really honored to have 100 plus people listening to me. I mean, that's really nice. I'm so happy to know that you're concerned for your teenagers. But I would just like to leave you with one simple message. My organization's name is Forever Magical Teens. So it's like every teenager, I believe, is a magician's box. So they have every time it comes out, it's like magic. So believe that each and every teen is a magical personality. They are unique, and join me in my journey of just simplifying teenage, so that their teenage is so simple that they enjoy the process, and you also love the process and you cherish those memories. Thank you very much for having me with you. Thank you.
Okay, so one special request is they want you to tell the book's name one more time. So what I will do is, just for the benefit of all of them, you tell the book's name and I'm going to type it so that they will have it recorded. Okay,
Yes.
so first one is
Personality Plus.
Personality Plus. Okay, that's the book number 1. Okay,
And 5 Love Languages for Teenagers.
5 Love Languages for Teenagers. That's the second book.
Yeah.
And the link to get together is also added. So I think I've put all of them in the comments column. Those are the 2 books to your parents and viewers, and the link to connect with her. So some of you have asked me again, how do we connect with her? And that's the link you can connect with. So with this, I want to thank once again all of you. Take care and enjoy the remaining part of this Sunday.